Greetings and salutations, everyone. Hello, welcome all to episode number 6 of The Clutch. We have a lot to talk about right now, but first, let's talk about the Celtics vs. Nets recap. I know I got to talk about the Danny Ainge, not being the GM for the Celtics anymore. Brad Stevens taking over in Danny Ainge's spot, and the Celtics looking for a new head coach. Who could it be? We don't know. But first, let's talk about the Celtics and Nets. Terrible series. I'm surprised we even took one. I thought we were going to get eventually swept by the Brooklyn Nets, but we couldn't stop them. KD was unstoppable. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, they were just unstoppable. We stopped them game 3, and I thought we had a little bit of hope to finally beat them, but we didn't. We really didn't. But Celtics are moving on. They're hitting the golf courses early, which is great. I really had no hype for this team. I really didn't. The Celtics are a really sad team in this NBA. It's really sad to see the Celtics lose in the first round, excuse me, without Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker, Robert Williams. And, I have a good feeling that Kemba Walker might not be on the Celtics come next season because of his injury woes, which is kind of sad for the Celtics, but I thought it was going to be a lot of young help right there, but I'm guessing not. The Celtics, they need a lot of work to do. Hopefully with Brad Stevens back in the helm for the GM spot, maybe he could be a little bit smart and acquire some players like a Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, maybe make some trades here and there to acquire some talent would be nice, be awesome. But I don't know. The Celtics, they need a lot of help. We need a lot of shooters. We need a lot of centers, some power forwards here and there. We just need some help. And the Celtics, their season was, I give it probably a 40% out of 100. Because here's the thing. Injury woes really hurt us a lot. They really did. With Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker being out, Robert Williams, him being, the star center that we've been hoping that he would be. But Tristan Thompson, he was a good asset for the Celtics, and I hope we keep him. I hope he doesn't get traded. I hope he's a very good asset to the team. Good rebounder, good shot blocker. He can take control of the team. I think he deserves a captain spot. Well, maybe give it to Jason Tatum, but if you were thinking of a second captain, I would give it to Tristan Thompson because I think he deserves it. Great leadership, great role model for the Celtics, but the Celtics, they need to look on to after the season. Being first-round exits, it's kind of sad to see that happen. It really is. But, I hope the Celtics, they regroup and they rebuild. With acquiring, Brad Stevens as their GM, he needs to make some smart decisions. He needs to think, okay, now that I'm not the coach of the Celtics anymore, I'm the GM. I need to think about who needs to go where. Will he trade Jaylen Brown? Hopefully. Will he keep Marcus Smart? He could be in a package deal with Jaylen Brown in order to acquire some young talent like Bradley Beal or maybe like a Duncan Robinson, a Bam Adebayo, package deal. Wouldn't be a bad idea for the Celtics to do because the Celtics, they need a lot of help. We need some shooters, and we need them fast. We need to acquire Danny Green. We need a Kyle Korver, J.J. Redick. We need some helpers out there, and if, Brad can do it as a GM, I give him kudos to doing that. But, excuse me, going back to the Celtics, and the Nets. The Celtics, they looked like they weren't ready for this series right now. They really didn't look like they were prepared and ready. And it's sad to say that as a Celtics fan. I wish I could say that, the Celtics, they were prepared, but no. Last night's game was the most embarrassing game I've ever watched. I mean, yeah, they came back here and there, but rebounding, letting, the Brooklyn Nets score here and there. I know Brooklyn's more talented than us, but in order for us to thrive in the East, we need to get a three-headed monster just like the Brooklyn Nets doing. Try to acquire some talent. Maybe bringing back Al Horford in a trade. Maybe that's the first thing Brad should do. Or maybe try and sign Kawhi Leonard, the Claw, to the Celtics. That would be also a bad idea for them too, but they would need to haul a lot of money. Evan Fournier, he's a free agent. He's looking for about 15 to 20 million a year, which is a lot of money, but does he deserve it? I'd say yes, he does. You know, he's been a great shooter. Defensively, not really, but I say bring him back on a year contract, a year or two. You know, we still got Jabari Parker. He's got some talent here and there. We still got, you know, Robert Williams. I hope we don't trade him away because he's a very good asset to the team. You know, I wish we could get some other great talent. I really wish we could. You know, getting the Kawhi Leonard. But, you know, Brad Stevens, he needs to think about, you know, what this team needs and what this team should do. But we'll talk about that later on in the show. But, you know, as a Celtics fan, this is like the most saddest series I've ever seen the Celtics play. Losing 5 games. You took one of them in Boston, which I was surprised that the Celtics took. I really was. But it's kind of, you know, I thought that I was giving the Celtics a little bit too much hype. I think I was. But, you know, I knew in the end the Celtics weren't going to win this. I knew Brooklyn was going to advance. Possibly they could go to the finals. It could be a possibility. But right now, if you're the Boston Celtics, you need to look on, and you need to look on good. We need some shooters. God, we need some bench because, you know, Grant Williams, terrible. He looked terrible in the playoffs. Not knowing how to dunk. He could rebound. Shoot the three, but, you know, if I'm Romeo Langford, I'm working on my jump shot because his jump shot last night was so terrible. He wasn't even looking good. And, you know, Brian Scalabrine was saying, like, yo, he needs to work on his jump shot. He really does. You know, to become a great player in the NBA, practice makes perfect. And that's what you need to do in order to win championship game is have communication, play great defense, and shoot well. If you don't got any of those 3, you need a lot of help here. And that's what the Celtics need. They need some veteran help this offseason. So, you know, if I'm Brad Stevens and I'm thinking, what do the Celtics need to do in order to win? Get some bench help. Get some veterans. You know, maybe if Carmelo Anthony doesn't sign back with the Portland Trailblazers, I say go after him because he's a great veteran and he could lead the team. He could show Jason Tatum what it's all about. I can see that happening. Jason Tatum is a great young leader, and maybe he can bring some talent here in Boston. Bring up Bradley Beal would be nice. Maybe Bam Adebayo, you know, Duncan Robinson would be nice. We just need some shooters, and we need to make Brooklyn look like we're the better team come next season. You know, I'm kind of excited to see what Brad will do as a GM. But, you know, as for the Celtics right now, if you ask me how I'm feeling, I'm kind of upset and I'm kind of happy. Kind of upset because, you know, I wanted this young team to advance and prove that we were kind of sort of the better team, but we couldn't show that. Not last night, not even game 4. I thought in game 4 with 100% capacity, you know, back, I thought we could actually really do well. We could actually strive well, but no, the Celtics were not looking at that. They did well in game 3. They surprisingly shocked the world, but they couldn't pull out some extra W's. They couldn't do it. But, you know, as the Celtics move on from the series and they, you know, work on some jump shots, they work on, you know, communicating a lot better because they need to work on their defense. Because, you know, this series was absolutely terrible watching them play defense and communicate. Because them getting the ball to Brooklyn and everything and watching Brooklyn players get past them where they could have easily said, hey, guard him, guard them, go left, go right. That's what the Celtics needed to do. And did they do that? No. They made themselves look absolutely embarrassing in Brooklyn. They were lucky to take at least one game at the TD Garden. I wish they won 2 games. I really wish they did. But the Celtics, they did not look like the Celtics that we all love, and that we all wanted them to be. So Celtics are on their vacation for the next 5 months. Hopefully, you know, Jason Tatum can work on being a good leader, which he did. Scoring about 50 points in game 3 was awesome. I think he scored 40 in game 4. But, you know, that wasn't enough to, you know, surpass the Nets, which was kind of sad. But, you know, if I'm the Celtics, I'm just looking on to greater and better things. You just got to move on in life, and you just have to accept that your team is not going to be doing any more greater than this. And right now, the Brooklyn Nets will be playing the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm going to be cheering hard for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they can do a better chance than the Celtics right now. I think they could take the Brooklyn Nets in possibly 7 games because it's going to be hard to guard Giannis. Who's going to guard him? Is it going to be Blake Griffin, possibly Kevin Durant? It's going to be interesting to see who's going to guard who. And I think that could possibly go 7 games. It's going to be a good battle to see who's going to win. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks are due for a championship. Last year in the bubble, them not winning, what's kind of a story to tell? No fans, COVID, stuff like that. And I think that Milwaukee can actually wake up, smell the roses, and actually beat the Brooklyn Nets, who are actually looking for a championship run this year, which I applaud them. The Brooklyn Nets, they did fantastic this year, acquiring, James Harden in a trade, signing Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, the 2 snakes in the NBA. They did a great job with that. But I think that, Milwaukee can surpass the Brooklyn Nets, and I think that they can move on and play possibly, it looks like the 76ers in the Eastern Conference Finals, because it looks like it may be the Sixers versus the Hawks. But I think in that matchup, I think the Hawks can surpass the 76ers if the Hawks can win the next 3 games or the next game tonight. Because as we're speaking right now, the Knicks and the Hawks are playing at MSG right now, and the Hawks are up 3-1 in the series. So hopefully that can surpass, and Trae Young can move on, and hopefully he can play on against the 76ers, it looks like. So when we come back from the clutch, we're going to be talking about Brad Stevens and how well I think that he can do as a GM for the Celtics and who he could possibly acquire. I'm Devin Telgani, and this is The Clutch.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of The Clutch. I'm Devin Talgani. So what we talked about in the first half was basically about the Celtics and how bad they were basically playing. Now, this news basically broke this morning at around 9 to 10 a.m. that Brad Stevens will no longer be the head coach of the Celtics, and Danny Ainge will be stepping down as GM of the Celtics, and Brad Stevens will be taking that role for your Boston Celtics. And I like it. It's kind of interesting to see what Brad Stevens can do as a GM. He kind of said this in a quote, I think on Twitter, or, he goes, last year in the bubble was when he started to feel that he didn't really like to coach anymore, which kind of shocks me because, he's been a coach for the Celtics for 8-9 years, and he's been a wonderful coach. Excuse me. I've loved Brad Stevens as a coach. I think he's great. No one should hate him as a coach. He's made the Celtics make the playoffs. I know he hasn't won us anything, but you have to kind of appreciate what he's done as a coach for the Celtics. Making it 8-9 years in the playoffs as a head coach, as a newly head coach, is amazing. We had different teams with Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier. We had many mix of teams for the Boston Celtics, and surprisingly, we made the playoffs almost every year with Brad Stevens as our head coach. And I love Brad as a head coach. Am I going to miss him? Yeah. But I think this deserved to happen because, yeah, I didn't think he was an excellent coach or a decent kind of coach. But I thought if he could pull the strings together and maybe if he challenged a little bit more plays and maybe acted he did challenge some plays here and there last night. He made one challenge play that made Evan Fournier not be fouled out, which was great. And I like that as a coach. I really do. As long as you show great leadership and you know the plays that you're running, that's absolutely great and absolutely wonderful for Brad Stevens and the Boston Celtics. But if you actually think about it right now, the Celtics need help for a head coach because right now we have absolutely no one. And I've heard some top suitors for head coaches like Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups, but I think Chauncey Billups could be an excellent person, for the job. I can see him doing well for the Boston Celtics, or him, or maybe KG or Kendrick Perkins, because I don't know if you've seen it, but during the post-game live, Perks has a lot of emotional and very spiritual things. He motivates a team. He actually makes a team want to actually win. And if you don't know this, that he actually tweets out to players. He tweets out to Jason Tatum. He tweets out to other people in the NBA, which is phenomenal, which is great. Having Kendrick Perkins as a head coach would be phenomenal, But they said no one can be filling Doc Rivers' shoes, which is kind of great, Yeah, Doc Rivers was a great head coach when he was here with the Celtics, but I think if you get a Celtics player like Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups, maybe a little bit Kendrick Perkins too, and KG, but I remember KG said, he's not looking for, a head coaching job, but I think his leadership here would be great. It really would be phenomenal. I think Kendrick Perkins would be great. I've seen him talk on First Take. I've seen him talk, on the post-game show for the Celtics. And, I think he'd be a great head coach for the Boston Celtics as we talk about it. But, who knows what the Celtics can do right now for a head coach. It'll be kind of interesting to see, will the Celtics pull the gun in Kendrick Perkins? Will they try to acquire someone else? It'll be very interesting to see. Excuse me. But here's the thing. The Celtics, they need a lot of help at head coach. And I think with, Brad Stevens becoming the GM, maybe he can pull some strings together. Maybe he can have like, a Danny Ainge trade of Kyrie Irving and Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder. But it'll be really interesting to see, if Brad Stevens can pull the trigger and, acquire the parts that we're looking for. Get the claw and Kawhi Leonard, sign Danny Green, maybe even sign Kyle Korver, because we need some hot shooters. And acquiring those two, maybe if they, trade for Al Horford, who's looking to get the heck out of OKC, I can definitely see that happening for the Boston Celtics because they need a lot of help. They found their new GM. Congratulations, and Brad Stevens. Will he do a good job as the GM of the Celtics? I don't know. It could be a yes. It could be, he could be a Danny Ainge and pull off some Trader Danny moves, or he could not. It'll be very interesting to see what Brad Stevens can do. And Danny Ainge says that, Brad Stevens is fit for the job. So it will be very, very interesting to see what Brad Stevens can do. Will he trade away Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart? Will he keep some assets on the team? Could Robert Williams be in a package deal for someone? Is he going to trade away Grant Williams, or could he trade away, Romeo Langford, to acquire some pieces that we need? If he can do that, I'd be grateful for Brad Stevens as a GM because I think he can do it. I can see Brad Stevens turning the Celtics team around and making them the team that we've been all waiting for the past decade. I could see him possibly acquiring Kawhi Leonard, getting a great shooter in Danny Green, or maybe acquiring Bradley Beal, a hot shooter that I've been talking about this whole time on this podcast right now. Because I think if we acquire Bradley Beal, I think we can make the playoffs even better. We probably can make it to the second round, and we can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We'd be making it rain here in Boston. We really would be. I can see the Celtics actually doing some pieces and getting some tickets, getting some, assets here in Boston. The big question is, what are they going to do with Mr. Taco Time, a.k.a. Taco Fall? I think they need to use him as a big man because, the Celtics are looking for big men. He's the tallest person on the dang team. Like, why didn't the Celtics use him more during the playoffs or during the, season? I think he could be a great player. Heck, the, Denver Nuggets, they use Bobo greatly. So why not use, Taco Fall? We drafted him for some reason, right? It seems like it, but, the Celtics, they have a lot of questions to answer, and, Brad needs to do a lot of thinking, but I think that Brad Stevens as a Celtics GM, I think he can do great. I hope he acquires the pieces that I've been talking about, getting the shooter that we need, signing the free agents, getting a big that we actually can use, minus Tristan Thompson. Because Grant Williams, he's not the answer that the Celtics have been looking for. He can't shoot, he can't rebound, and god awful, he can't dunk or make a layup for his life. He cannot even do that on a daily basis. And that's kind of sad. If you're an NBA player and you can't make a goddamn layup or a dunk and no one's guarding you and it's wide open, you ain't an NBA ball player. Well, you need a lot of hella practice in order to make the squad. You really do. And it's kind of sad that you're missing layups. You're an NBA player, and you're missing layups, and you're missing dunk shots. Easy shots. I could make them, and I'm fat. I'd be like a whiter big baby Davis, and I can make them. No one can guard them. It's easy. You got drafted for a reason. You need to practice. You need to make your goddamn shots, and you just need to make yourself look like a great NBA player. And that's not what Grant Williams is doing for the Boston Celtics. I mean, yes, this is his second year in a Celtics uniform, and I think we can do better than him. Yes, he's performed into a great shooter, but God, get him off the floor for a Celtics fan and Celtic Nation. We do not need to see Grant Williams in a Celtics uniform by next season. I really hope that doesn't happen. I hope that's not the solution. I hope he's not the future. I hope we could get like a big man like who's another big man like Serge Ibaka. Acquire him in a trade. Try to trade for some good assets. Maybe Miles Turner. Maybe you can actually do the trade that Danny Ainge was trying to do. Acquire some talent that has veteran usage. We acquired Jabari Parker. He has one more year left in this contract after this coming up season. I think we should keep him. I think Jabari Parker has strove well in a Celtics uniform, and I think he can do well for the Celtics in the near future. Because I think this is the answer that the Celtics fans are looking for. And yes, they played him, a couple series here and there. But they used him in the Brooklyn Nets series. And I said this many times. You need to use some veteran talent. And that's what you got to do in having Jabari Parker on the court for the Celtics. He has some young veteran talent. He can shoot the threes. He can somewhat guard, hit free throws here and there. You need to find like a more better shooter than Jabari Parker. I mean, he needs some more time in the playoffs. He needs some more sets here and there. But if you acquire someone like a Jabari Parker or an Evan Fournier, I say re-sign Evan Fournier. I think he's a great shooter. He's a great ball player. We could really use his talent come next season because I think he works great in a Boston uniform. The way he was talking smack to Kevin Durant was phenomenal. That's what the Celtics need. A guy that can talk smack back to one of the snakes in the NBA, Kevin Durant, someone who's not afraid to back down, who can take charge, who can do everything that you want in this guy to do. And that's who you're looking for in Evan Fournier and in Jabari Parker. If they can sign 2 or 3 players that can come off the bench, keep Pritchard. Pritchard has been doing a phenomenal job this season. Nesmith, he's had his ups and downs, but he's been doing a great job in this year's playoffs. I think he's going to strive well for the Celtics in the near future. But I think they need to get rid of Langford, Williams, Grant Williams, maybe Robert Williams and Kemba Walker. And I think we won't see Jaylen Brown in a Celtics uniform come next season. Because I think this is Jason Tatum's team. We've seen it. We've heard it. We've known about it, that this is JT's team. He scored 50 points in Game 3. He scored 40. He scored 60. And this is what he did when Jaylen Brown was out. Now, I would have expected that the Celtics to win more games than to actually have what happened in this year's playoffs. But I give Jason Tatum like a B+ for carrying the team, scoring 50 points, 40 points, getting to the rack, shooting threes, doing the best that he could for the Boston Celtics. And he wore that jersey with his heart out. And I give him a B+ effort. I would have given him an A- if we would have beat the Nets in the series more. But I give him kudos and I give him credits. Jason Tatum is the guy that the Celtics need to keep on our team. He's basically like a LeBron James. Yes, he complains about fouls. Yes, he complains about defense, about other players. But I think he shows a great leadership. I think he's the future. He's basically the LeBron James that basically the Celtics have been looking for and have been waiting for in these past couple of years. And I think he can strive well. He's worked his hardest. He's worked his best. And I think that Jason Tatum will strive well in a Celtics uniform. Well, that's all the talk we have for Celtics. When we get back, we're going to be talking about fans interfering with the NBA players that happened this past week. I'm Devin Telgani, and this is The Clutch.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Prevacol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Hello and welcome back to the Clutch. If you guys want a few NBA updates, we have the 76ers and Washington Wizards hitting halftime with the score, your 76ers 65, Washington Wizards 63. And the Hawks and the Knicks game, Hawks are leading by one. Oh, now it's tied. My bad. 33-33. Well, let's get into the headline right here about fans interfering with NBA players. I'm not a big fan of this. I'm really not. It started with the whole Kyrie Irving stomping on the – no, it started with the whole, person throwing popcorn at the injury of Russell Westbrook going down to the tunnel. And those are selfish, 76 fans, which is kind of terrible to hear. The 76ers are doing this. It's kind of sad if you actually think about it that these, NBA fans, they just welcomed you back into the stadiums after years and years and not having, fans in the stadiums. And now you do this. Boo you. Boo on those dang 76ers fans. Because I am hurt and I'm upset that these fans are doing this to these poor NBA players. The 76ers fan did it to Russell Westbrook, who was coming out of an injury. He was injured. And have the, fan throwing popcorn at him. He was banned for life. Good for him. Good. Those people deserve to get banned for life from those stadiums. And it shows. It really does show. But here's the thing. And then you have, the grateful thing that I posted right here about Kyrie Irving stomping on the Celtics logo. This is the thing that I hate about Kyrie Irving. He's a punk. He's an a-hole. And he's a twat. He really is. I really don't like him a lot. He is not a very good player. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. I love him. No, I don't love him. What am I saying? I don't love him. But talent-wise, he's great. But as a Celtics fan, I don't like him. I really don't like him as a Celtics fan. Because, one, he lied to Celtics fans about signing back with the Celtics when they had that season ticket holder meeting. And then after that, nothing happened. He signed the max deal with the Brooklyn Nets. Him and Kevin Durant, you guys know the story about what happened there. And, now that's why we say F Kyrie. And that's why we always boo him. Because he deserves it. He's a liar. And he's just not loyal. He's not loyal to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And heck, he wasn't loyal to us. He wasn't. I wasn't a big fan of him doing all that stuff. Saying that, I'm going to sign a max deal here with, the Celtics. Everyone was clapping, everyone was cheering, and then the whole media just got up in Kyrie Irving's face, and, I think that's what happened with Kyrie Irving. He was just like, nah, I don't want to be here anymore, He showed in a lot of interviews that he was kind of happy, but he was kind of pissed off in the same way. But he really didn't show some emphasis. He didn't really show that he actually wanted to actually be here. He kind of looked miserable every time, he was just sitting like this, being interviewed by the Boston press. And it was kind of sad to see that happen, And this is why most Celtics fans are going to hate Kyrie Irving for life. They're not going to like him at all. They're not going to like him here. They're not going to like him here, there, or anywhere else. Brooklyn, Celtics, Boston. No. He's just not going to strive anywhere, wherever we play him. That's why he always makes his fake injuries every time he plays the Celtics. Unless come playoff time when we boo the heck out of him. And, you know, with the fans, like, interfering with the NBA players, that's kind of sorry to hear. Like, you're representing your own family when you're out there in the stadiums watching the games. And, you know, if I'm like a father or a mother, I'm looking back at my son and I'm seeing this, I'm very disappointed in them. You know, I would feel very sorry. I would be like, this is what I raised in order to have them be arrested and to be banned for life from a stadium. And that's really sad to hear. As a 76ers fan, Celtics fan, Knicks fan, you know, if you ask me what's worse, I think the spitting on the face was worse. Because you have Trae Young, who's a very talented point guard in the Atlanta Hawks. And I think he's going to strive well come seasons to come. This is like, what, second, third year in the NBA? And, you know, Knicks fans, they just be hating. They be hating on Trae Young. And it's sorry to hear it. But if someone has good talent like Kyrie Irving and, you know, Celtics fans hate it, Kyrie Irving is like the Trae Young of, you know, the Knicks fans. You know, Trae Young, he's very talented. He can shoot the threes from deep, from, you know, half-court line. He can basically do it all like Kyrie Irving, make some dink and dunk moves, you know, hit some nice floaters. His defense is inept, but still, I think Trae Young's a great basketball player. I respect the heck out of Trae Young. I think he's a really talented player. I think he could be in the Basketball Hall of Fame come, you know, a decade from now, because he can shoot. And the Hawks deserve to win this series. I think the Hawks will win it tonight. I think the 76ers game, that's going to be a close one. You know, no Embiid, close game. The Wizards are making it 65-63. I think Washington pulls it out, and it goes to Game 6, which would be kind of interesting to see, you know, if they could force it to a Game 7. And will Joel Embiid be healthy enough to play up against the Washington Wizards? Because right now, Joel's out. He was out for 3 to 4 quarters in Game 4, and now he's out Game 5. That's the centerpiece that the Philadelphia 76ers are looking for in Joel Embiid. And, you know, he's basically the piece. And the 76ers are nothing without him or Ben Simmons. That's why they didn't trade for him or Ben Simmons for Harden. That's why they trusted the process. So, you know, in those games, I think, you know, the Hawks will win. I think the Washington Wizards surprise us and take it into a Game 6 and possibly wins it in Game 6 and makes it Game 7. It'll be very interesting. But, you know, going back to, like, you know, the fans getting interfered with, you know, you're representing your loyal family out there. And it's really sad to see that people are actually throwing popcorn, actually spitting. Like that's just uncalled for. Spitting in, you know, Trae Young's face. How old are you? Are you like a grown man doing this? Teenager? This is why fans are not allowed back, because they show some bad sportsmanship. You know, Celtics fan throwing the water bottle at Kyrie Irving. Now, here's the thing with that story. I understand with the frustration about Kyrie Irving stomping on the Celtics logo and making, like, you know, Celtics fans pissed off and whatnot. And that's understandable and that's doable. But throwing a water bottle at Kyrie Irving, I mean, I wouldn't even do that. Like, you know, for that Celtics fan to make us look kind of stupid and kind of relentless in front of, like, you know, Celtics Nation and live on Almost TNT, where they actually caught you, and now he's in jail and banned for life. I've never seen that out of a Celtics fan. I really haven't. You know, it's really sad to see that these Celtics fans are doing it. Not surprised the 76ers fan would do it, because, you know, 76ers fans, they're kind of crazy and unknowing of what they're, like, you know, actually thinking and actually doing, which is on their part kind of wrong. And, you know, good, he's banned for life. And the, you know, Knicks fan that did that to Trae Young, it's like, spitting, man, it's like, really? I can understand, like, you know, pouring your drink on him, but, you know, spitting, that's just uncalled for, and that's just unnecessary do. I would be a fan and I'll be really embarrassed that, he's doing crap like this, in front of the Knicks, in front of thousands and thousands of fans. People are probably cheering, yeah, do it, but no. It's like, when you were in middle school or high school, and people egg you and say, yeah, do it, to make you look stupid. But those people who say that, they're not really your friends. They're basically your enemies. They're basically your bullies, and you shouldn't listen to friends that do stuff like that. That's just unrightful and uncalled for. As a Celtics fan, I'm really disappointed in that Celtics fan throwing the water bottle at Kyrie. I mean, it's just, not right for, no Celtics fan, have done that to LeBron James, the biggest guy out there, who we as Celtics fans, we hate him too. We hate Kyrie Irving and we hate LeBron James. So, me seeing that, a fan did this at the end of the game, it's like, yeah, I understand Brooklyn Nets are up 3-1. You're really upset that the Celtics didn't actually turn out to have the season that you're expected to. But it's like, come on, dude. Really? Throwing a water bottle right at Kyrie Irving's face? That's just unrightful and that's uncalled for. And I just can't believe it. It's like, this whole racism thing Kyrie Irving's saying and, whatnot. It's just really uncalled for a Celtics nation to do stuff like that. If I'm the Celtics right now, I'm just, I'm happy they banned him. That was the right call. Whoever does that should be thrown in jail and should be AKA banned for life from the stadium, which is a good call. And I think that, Celtics fans and, Knicks fans and 76ers fans, you guys need to use your head. Use your head a lot. Think about, if I do this, will my family be happy or will they be displeased? You have to think about that when you're a fan out there, out in the real world. Well, we're going to hit one more break. We're going to come back, quickly talk about the Red Sox, and then we're going to end off the show. My name is Devin Telgani, and this is The Clutch.
Pharmaceutical company Prevacus says their new concussion medication Previsol helps repair nerves and promote cell growth.
We can get the drug in the brain in less than 5 minutes. And our plan is, when we get that diagnosis on the field of play, give the drug nasally, get it in the brain quickly. When it gets in the brain, it actually gets into the nucleus of your brain cells, and it reduces swelling, inflammation, and oxidative stress at the same time.
When Jake and I first talked about this many years ago, one of my first questions was, will this help me? And he goes, no, this is for treatment immediately when a concussion or you think a concussion has occurred.
Yeah.
The acute problems that exist later on in life, if we can take care of these at an early age and start getting some of these things to our children and grandchildren, and I think we can make this game, our game, football, a safer place.
And so the whole goal is we're trying to make the game safer. And so Odyssey and this drug, we believe, can be a game changer in so many different ways. Yes, on the football field, in the game of football, because that's where my passion lies, but also in the game of life.
Welcome back to The Clutch. Before we wrap things up, the Red Sox aren't doing well. Right now, they're on a 2-game losing streak. They lost to the Astros twice, 11-2 on Monday, Memorial Day, and they also lost last night, 5-2. And right now, they're tied 1-1. Red Sox, they need to get hot. I don't know what else to say. They're playing, tonight in Houston and tomorrow afternoon in Houston. You need to win these next 2 games. And right now it's 1-1. Hunter Renfroe just walked, and that drove in a run, and Gurriel just hit a sac fly. So now it's tied up 1-1 in the bottom of the first. Runners on first and second for the Astros. So And then you have a weekend series against the Yankees. First time we're playing the Yankees in over 2 months. So right now the Red Sox need to wake up, and they need to score some runs and go back in first place. Because if not, they're going to be in some real danger right now. And they need to wake up. They need to score some runs. Their pitching needs to be great. We're going to get Chris Sale back very, very soon, and I can't wait for that. I'm really pumped. I'm really excited for the Red Sox. They're in second place right now as we speak. And hopefully come next week, the Red Sox can be hopefully in first place and hitting and pitching well. You know, Erod's not doing well. His last games, he's given up 5 or more runs, which is really terrible to the Blue Jays and to the, Houston Astros, a.k.a. the Cheat Stros. So hopefully the Red Sox, they can wake up, they can score some runs, win these next 2 games, and possibly take 2 out of 3 from the New York Bombers, which would be kind of a win series for the Red Sox because the Yankees haven't been performing well as we expected. Yes, Corey Kluber has sort of no-hitter for the Yankees, but other than that, the Yankees haven't been doing well. They've had injuries with Aaron Hicks. And he's basically out for 2 months or whatnot. And, the Red Sox are doing well. They're surprising me and everyone else in Red Sox Nation. Fenway Park is back to 100% capacity, which is great. Tickets are getting cheaper. I'm about to go to some games soon. It's going to be awesome. Feeling great there. Hopefully they don't have the mask rule on, and hopefully the Red Sox can come back and win some games and be the Red Sox that we all love and know. Because I think right now, if we talk about it, I think the Red Sox will be a playoff contender come in the next couple of months, and I can't wait to see the Red Sox strive well with Alex Cora. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in for this week's episode 6 of The Clutch. Thank you for tuning in. Next week will be episode 7. Stay tuned. Same time, same place. And thank you for tuning in. I'm Devin Telgani, and this is The Clutch.